Happy Friday morning, everybody. Hope everyone's well. Welcome to OnPattison podcast once again. I am Bob Cooney. I have a very, very special guest with us today. Former Philly, 1996 All-Star. Maybe the nicest former Philly I've ever met. That's right. Ricky Bottalico is with us today. Ricky, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you, pal?
I couldn't be any better. I was very excited. We have Tim Kelly and Anthony SanFilippo. They're traveling. They do the Field of Dreams stuff and all that. So they said, look, you got to get yourself a guest host on Friday. You're on your own. Go get somebody. First call I make is Ricky Bottalico. First person that says, sure, I'll do it, Ricky Bottalico. So very awesome. So glad to join us. What's going on in your life? Everything good?
Everything's good. You know, a lot of work, but I've back to the Phillies on Saturday, so that's going to be interesting. Hopefully they could maybe turn it up a notch would be nice. At least last night, you know, that was a Field of Dreams game. They showed up for that one at least.
Yeah, we had, as I said, Tim Kelly and Anthony SanFilippo were out there for us. Anthony's going to join us in a couple minutes just to tell us what it was like all out there. I just thought it was phenomenal on TV. I thought it was absolutely incredible. They do it right. And it's the simplicity of it, right, Ricky? It's not like all these bells and whistles. No, it's the simplicity of baseball. Here it is, 9 guys against 9 guys. Have at it. Let's go. I thought it was wonderful.
I actually thoroughly enjoy these kind of games. I think it's one of those things where it almost throws you back in time. Doesn't it make sense that Kyle Schwarber goes deep twice in that game? Yeah. Because to me, when I look at the Phillies, the one thing that sticks out to me, Kyle Schwarber is a throwback. He's a throwback type guy. You know, he's got his socks up high. He comes in there, hits a couple into the cornfield. Are you kidding? I mean, you could not write a better script, because if you looked at the Phillies and you said, like, I know I'm going to a different movie. If you said a guy was like the natural, it would be Kyle Schwarber. So, I mean, I think it's so cool that he had an opportunity to kind of show up on that big stage. I call it a big stage. There was only 8,000 people at the ballpark. Yeah. I actually was thinking about wanting to go, and I never do that. I think, you know, I'm almost at every Phillies home game. I see you there all the time, and it's odd because when I go to Citizens Bank Park, I look at it as like a second home. I don't look at it like a ballpark. It's strange. Right. And now all of a sudden you look at a ballpark that is in a cornfield that Major League Baseball is really kind of built up. And it's unbelievable that this all came from a movie. Think about that for a second. Yeah. And now they make it a big stage show. And I think it's something special. I mean, I would have loved to have played in something like that when I was back in the day.
And you know what, Ricky? It's funny because you've played in every major league ballpark, I would assume. And I'm not saying you get used to it or spoiled or anything like that, but there is a familiarity of, we pull in, the bus pulls up. If you're on the road, we walk into the clubhouse, we do what we have to do, and we leave. And you do kind of get used to it. Do games like this kind of bring you back to your roots, you think, and like make you maybe think like, wow, that's right, this is a game that I started playing in stadiums like this?
Yeah, it certainly would, because it throws you back to the minor leagues. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, to me, I used to love playing in Reading, and I don't know, call me old school, call me old fashioned, but that ballpark just brought a homey feel to it. Whenever you were playing in it, whenever you had that situation, and they always got good crowds, I will give them that much. But playing in Reading was just like a flashback to me. And that was me just being in the minor leagues. Right. I felt very comfortable playing in certain ballparks like that. But, yeah, you go up into the third deck. We used to call them the third deck because certain guys couldn't pitch when the third deck was on the stadium. But, yeah, you come to all these colossal stadiums and you get used to it. And I think that the weirdest thing for me was like my first day in the big leagues, what I was told was take it all in. And I remember laying on the outfield of Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta doing our stretching and like looking up, and I'm like, this place is big. And it's like, I'm going to be pitching out here. Like, it almost freaks you out a little bit. But then it literally took about a week to get used to that. And then it was all over. So, going back, it's like going back to your roots for a baseball player. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
Oh, and I thought it was great how they kept expanding the camera last night and showing the people still just walking around on the original field where they did the movie, around
Yep.
the house, all of that stuff I thought was incredible. Speaking of, so Atlanta was the first major league park you played in?
Yep. Well, kind of.
Well, as a
As
major
a
leaguer?
as a major leaguer, it was Atlanta. Yes.
Okay. What was your favorite ballpark to play in? Like, oh, you probably hit a million in the minor leagues and all of that stuff. Do you have one that kind of takes you back? You talked about Reading a little bit. Is there another one?
You know what? This is going to sound strange. It was cool to me to go back to New Britain, Connecticut, because that was that was our field for college. So it was strange that, a year and a half before I was playing college baseball and catching on that field.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden I'm pitching on the same field. So I guess it was just because I kind of grew up. But I will say this much: my favorite field ever to play on, and this was more as a hitter because I love the backdrop. There's the Bristol Red Sox in AA used to play in Bristol, Connecticut, and it was called Muzzy Field.
Okay.
And it was a minor league stadium. Great place to hit, Bob. I'm telling you, the backdrop was all big, tall, green evergreens. So it was like you could see a ball perfectly whenever you're hitting there. So for me, that was the one place where I always loved to go, is when I was like in high school to play, because I always knew I was going to hit well there. So it was just one of those things where that ballpark stood out to me. But as far as minor leagues go, I think it was pretty cool when I was in AA. We had to go play the Bowie Bay Sox. Well, they were building their stadium. So we actually played in Memorial Stadium in Baltimore.
Oh, I love it. I used to go there when I was a kid, Ricky.
Yep. That was my first like real taste of, wow, this is like a full series at a big league ballpark. So it was pretty cool to me.
The old Memorial Stadium, the Baltimore Oriole Stadium, it was so. My sister and brother-in-law have lived in Baltimore since they got married, and she's quite a bit older than me. So I would be a kid, and they would take me to games. The coolest thing was you'd be driving down the street for like 33rd, 34th Street, and there's all row houses. Then all of a sudden, boom, there's a stadium like in the middle of a neighborhood, and it was a great place to watch a game. I loved it there.
Well, it was pretty wild because, I mean, I could remember seeing, video of the World Series there and things like that. So, everything was a flashback when you first start.
Yeah.
I mean, I will tell you this much. The old Yankee Stadium, I mean, I'm sure you've been there. There's nothing like that. There will never be another stadium like that.
I remember being on the city street in the Bronx and leaning up against the building, and there was a group of us going. So that the adults were trying to get us all together and all that, and we're leaning against this building. I'm like, well, where is the stadium? And the lady who was our chaperone at the time said, you're leaning on the stadium. I'm like, what? There's a stadium like in the middle of this city right here? So the old Yankee Stadium was great. Citizens Bank Park is phenomenal. We're blessed. I think we've been blessed around. Although, I don't know. I was at the Vet 1,000 times. Not a huge fan.
It was a concrete jungle. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was ours.
That's the saying that'll get it by. It was ours. It was nobody else's. It was ours, and that's what it was. I'm glad that the old artificial turf is gone and all of that, and that you can get back. And like that's the purity of last night. Guys diving for like last night. Schwarber hits, and you know from watching games on TV and when we're there, when someone hits one that comes off the bat, So he hits it last night, and it's barely off the bat, and I go, this is cool. Because you knew it was out and you knew it was Schwarber. And like you said, he is old-time baseball as much as old-time baseball is nowadays.
Yep.
And I thought that was just a terrific beginning to the game.
Well, sometimes, I mean, you lose that as a major leaguer. You were even saying it. You get used to certain things. Like, it's funny because the one thing I'll always remember, the first time I ever went to a major league game, and I obviously not great seats. I'm sitting in the upper deck at Yankee Stadium. But I could tell you walking through that tunnel into the stadium, I was like, oh, my God, this place is gigantic, Yeah. I mean, and it's something that you just never forget. And, I don't know how kids look at it nowadays, but, I mean, you take your first steps into a major league stadium, there's nothing like it. At least for me, there wasn't. At that day, I knew what I wanted to do in my life.
I remember it like it was yesterday. So I'm a little bit older than you, and my family was very, very poor growing up. We didn't have a color television. So I'm like 7 years old. The first time we went to a game, walked through the tunnel, and I'm like, oh my God, they play on green stuff, and the seats are yellow and orange. And it was unbelievable to walk in. And I still remember the game like it was yesterday. I'm showing my age. Hank Aaron hit a double to win the game for the Braves, 2-1 over the Phillies. Yeah. Down the left field corner. I'll never forget. First game I was ever at, Hank Aaron had the game-winning RBI. That's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But isn't that what baseball is about? Like what we're talking about right now. It's about memories. And, I think so much is put on winning all the time right now that it almost takes away from the memories. I mean, we'll always have the memory of 2008 and, the bedlam at the bank and the bat spike by Hoskins. I mean, those are things you don't forget. And those are things that end up being special for a long period of time.
Baseball's the biggest conversation piece, I think, among sports. To be able to go back on, like yesterday, I played golf with, and Anthony SanFilippo is going to join us in just 1 minute. I played golf with my high school basketball coach yesterday, his son, who was the current head coach at the school I went to, and another teammate that I played with. We talked about baseball just about the whole time, baseball trivia and going back and who do you think is the greatest here and there and whatever. Baseball conversation will never end. It's the greatest because you can do individuals, teams, all that, and numbers never go away.
Well, numbers are probably now more than ever when you think about it. And I'm not going to lie to you. I don't take in every number. I'm not a sponge. No. I mean, I'm really good with numbers, but I don't need to know all these. I try to visually see what's going on. I think that's the best way to watch baseball. If you're so caught up in the numbers game, you kind of get lost when the game's actually going on.
Yeah. Well, let's bring in Anthony SanFilippo. He was lucky enough to be in Dyersville, Iowa, not only last night, but still there now. Is his camera up? There it goes. That looked like he was on one of those filters at the stadium at first. Anthony, how are you, buddy?
Well, the one thing I'll say, guys, is that Iowa is not known for its Wi-Fi or its cell towers. They have nothing. It's so bad here with this stuff. Like I've been struggling with it for 3 days out here. But no, it's great. We're still in Iowa, getting ready to load up the car and drive to Minneapolis for the rest of the series. But what an event yesterday. Like, Ricky, I don't know what your impressions of it are, but I think Major League Baseball got it right with the Field of Dreams game. Like, really, really cool stuff from the minute we got there to walking through the cornfields to the throwback atmosphere. Like this is some great stuff that they did. And you talk about, the numbers, Ricky. One of the coolest things that I thought about the game yesterday was the simplicity of it. That video scoreboard out there in left field, it had during the game, it had the lineup, who was batting, and the pitch count. That's it. There you go. You can see it right there. And the score.
Yeah.
Like, no stats about the players. No, I didn't need to, look up and look for OPS and WOBA and, WRC plus. Like, I don't need to see any of that on a scoreboard. If I want to see that stuff, I have my phone. I can look it up, and I'm interested in that stuff personally, but not every fan is. The simplicity of the game is what made it awesome. And the other thing about it was that I thought was great for atmospherically, they had no music playing between pitches. So you could hear the sound of baseball being played. You could hear the guy in the on-deck circle drop the weight onto the on-deck circle. You could hear the chatter in the dugouts. You could hear the ball hit the mitt and the umpire call a strike. Like, that's what it was growing up. Even in a place like the Vet, which was cavernous, like, you could still hear those things because they didn't have all that music playing in between. This was what this was last night. It was 10 out of 10, no notes for Major League Baseball.
See, I think that's awesome because that's what baseball truly is. I mean, you know what it reminds me of? Going out and playing sandlot baseball. That's what it reminds me of. And I think that is so cool. I'm glad you got that experience, because I was seriously thinking to myself, I want to be out there. And I was telling Bob a minute ago, I never think like that. And I was like, that must be a great experience to be at that game.
Anthony, one of the questions. Go ahead.
No, and it's not just the game itself. I mean, look, that stadium's brand new, right? They just built that stadium. So the movie site's about 300 yards to the east of the stadium. That's really cool too. And like, that's all part of the experience, right? So all these fans, there's 7,100 fans that were at the game last night. They had access to this too. So you can just go out there, and it's fathers and sons playing catch on the field where Kevin Costner was playing catch, Ray Kinsella and his dad, where, Ray Liotta was out there, and James Earl Jones, and you could sit on the same bleachers, and carved into the top of the bleacher. And it is all the same stuff from back then. Carved into the top, it says Ray loves Annie, just like the actors or the characters in the movie, right? So just great. Just the whole thing is top notch, perfect. And so I wish, and Bryce Harper said this yesterday, I'm glad that he did, because we were talking about it beforehand. I wish that Major League Baseball would make this a full weekend series. Play 3 games there, or even if you only play 2 games with an off day, whatever, but play more than one day, because then it allows everybody to make it a family event and go and experience this as a family and really kind of romanticize the sport, make it a love letter and not just let's get in and get out real fast.
So and I was curious to this, because I didn't get on. I don't know if it was on the broadcast last night, but how did they handle the national anthem? Was it, like you said, simplicity? Did somebody just sing it? That was it? Because I was wondering, with just 8,000 people and the old time aspect of it all, I was wondering if they'd have somebody stand on the pitcher's mound and beld it out without a microphone or anything else.
No, they had somebody sing it.
Okay.
Bob just shot you down, Bob.
It was Netflix.
You know what else I wanted to see? I wanted to see the umpire after the lineup cards were given and everything, and before anybody came out. I would love for him to scream "play ball."
Well, they had a kid do it.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they had this little. Yeah, it was that kid, the corn kid. I forget what his name is. It's like some
corn
viral
kid
thing. Well, I forget what it is. So I don't want to speak out of turn, because I don't really know anything about it. It's not something that's in my generation or my wheelhouse. But Harper was wearing the quote on his arm sleeve that this kid says all the time or whatever. So that's it. It has the juice, whatever. It was some kind of corn related thing, some kid from out there. And he's the one who stood there with the microphone and shouted "play ball." So, and everybody went nuts at the beginning. But I don't know anything about that. I couldn't tell you what that meant.
That whole experience
that says I hit dingers out there.
That whole experience is amazing. It really is. I mean, to me, it's just a throwback to what baseball should be and what baseball is. And I mean, I'm sure these players kind of were thrown back too, and taken back into a world that they're probably not used to.
I'll tell you what, the most interesting thing for me to talking to the players after the game, Ricky, was that, they got out of their routine yesterday. They flew in morning of, they arrived at that field somewhere around 1:45 in the afternoon. And they had so many things that were planned, right? They had to go do the movie set. They had to go take a team picture in the outfield. They had to go, practice walking through the corn. They had to do pregame interviews and things like that. There was all kinds of stuff that they really just got out of routine. And when you think about it, this team has been scuffling for a little bit now. Obviously, they were, before last night, were 10-15 after the All-Star break. They've been playing 13 days in a row. Maybe they just needed that. They needed that day where it was just celebrating baseball and not the job of baseball, to kind of get themselves back. Because I'll tell you, they looked great in the game last night. It's one game. You can't get too high off of one game, just like you can't get too low when you lose one. It is just one game, but there just seemed to be a difference with them yesterday. And I think it was because they got to appreciate and enjoy the sport that they work in for a day.
And I'm going to let you go after this one because I think you're using up all the internet access that Dyersville, Iowa has, and I don't want all the people to get mad at you out there. So you've been, you're just like me. You've covered a lot of sports in this town and all over the country. Where does this rank? Like, how big is this going to stay in your memory bank going to Dyersville, Iowa, and seeing the Phillies in a Field of Dreams game?
Coolest place I've ever seen a sporting event, hands down. Not even close. Not coolest place I've ever seen a sporting event. I don't know if it's going to rank above, championship games and playoffs and Super Bowls and things that I've covered that had far more meaning than a regular season baseball game did. But it will certainly be ingrained in the memory banks of watching an actual professional game that mattered in that setting. Like that was, I don't know if anything can top that.
Wow.
That's how good it was.
Well, listen,
this is something we got to talk about before you let me go, before I kill the internet. Tim Kelly killed fashion yesterday.
Oh my gosh. Look at that shirt.
Look at the shirt that he wore.
That's pretty good. I got to look. Tim wears clothes that I would never want to see me or my family in at any time in my life. But that's not bad. I kind of like that.
So it was so funny. We were sitting at there was a local sports bar, and I put that in air quotes because they had one sports channel available in the sports bar in Iowa. Couldn't get anything other than one game. And he said to me, he's like, I hope it doesn't get rained out because I have a special occasion shirt just for the game. And then when he pulled that out, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe you're wearing that. That's awesome.
He must have got a lot of comments on that last night.
I think it's pretty cool. He got a lot of sideways glances. I don't think he got a lot of comments, but I thought it was great.
That's awesome.
All right, Amp. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming on. Go the distance today with Tim all the way to Minneapolis. Get that done. And careful with your travels and your driving. And I hope you have those earplugs if you're driving with Tim for 3.5 hours.
Oh, come on.
Did I say that?
I'm gonna clip that and send it to him when he wakes up.
When he wakes up, exactly. Yeah, you still got a couple hours for that to go. So, Anthony, thanks so much, buddy. Safe travels, and we will talk to you soon.
You got it, boys. Thanks.
All right.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty good shirt, Ricky.
Where would you even buy that? It had to be out there. I
think it was out there. Yeah, right? Had to be.
But he said he had it for a special occasion unless he got it online.
Maybe he did. Maybe he went out. Because you should see he wore a really weird. So he wears like these short sleeve, untucked, like cotton shirts with a pocket. Like he wears different fashion that I'm not used to or whatever.
You're not used to it.
Tim can get away with it.
I will say this. I was, obviously I'm scanning the internet yesterday, scanning X, and the one picture kind of stood out to me, and it was Lachlan. And it was funny because she was coming out of the cornfield and it said "Child of the Corn." How creepy is that?
That's fitting. I would have loved to have done that. Walk through the corn and next year, you and I are going to get out there one of these years. You and I
should have asked them. Does somebody live in that house?
It's an Airbnb.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you that's expensive.
Oh yeah, I would. They did show some highlights on TV last night of the inside of it. It doesn't look like it's changed much since the movie.
Yeah, probably not.
I watched the movie actually on Wednesday night. It was on. I was flipping around the channels and it was on. So I flicked it on and I caught it. I caught the last 3/4 of it. Yeah. So
yeah, I noticed it was on. I noticed it was on too. I've seen it a million times.
I do love that. I could watch that movie once a year. I mean, I'm not going to watch it 10 times a year, but yeah, for the sentimental value, sure, why not? And it's baseball at its purest. So, all right, well, we got to talk about this Phillies game last night. We have to start with this, right, Ricky? Aaron Nola last night. I'm watching him and I'm like, this is the Aaron Nola of old. And the cool thing was there was none of this, which I think helps Aaron Nola. Obviously, he got some pitches, he didn't get some others, but that's where he's most effective, when he's hovering around the plate and batters don't know whether it's going to be a strike or not.
I think he's just gotten to the point where he's starting to trust his movement again. the one thing I don't love from him is the four-seam fastball. I think it's flat. It stays on plane. You usually don't get a lot of bad swings on that. And his knuckle curve has been tremendous, especially as of late. But he's also learned that in certain to stay out of certain patterns, because the other thing we've seen is him use his changeup a little bit more here in the last, I would say, probably 3 weeks now. And I think the one thing that's got to be remembered, he's one of the best pitchers in Phillies history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people don't want to remember that, but he is. He knows how to pitch. He understands what he needs to do. I just think he gets caught into situations where he has to throw the ball over the middle of the plate. We haven't seen that recently. He's put himself into good counts. He's pounding the zone early. And I think it's a confidence thing more than anything else. Because once you gain that confidence to be able to throw your pitches again, it just becomes second nature. I think when he was walking guys, then giving up 2-run homers, 3-run homers, that's demoralizing. And I think the biggest thing for Aaron Nola is you're going to give up home runs. Okay, Kurt Schilling, you know this as well as I do, he used to give up a lot of home runs.
Yep.
But rarely were they 2-run or 3-run homers. It was usually solo home runs, and usually those won't hurt you in a game, especially with the offense this team has. But in all honesty, he may be the most important link on this team right now, Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
Because if he could go deep into games before that number 5 spot comes up, that saves your bullpen. And let's face it, they need to save that bullpen and keep them out of games as much as they can.
We're going to get to the bullpen also, but it's interesting. You brought up the four-seam fastball. Last night, I thought he spotted it like 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
Spotted it really well, and he got swings and misses, or just looks for strikes, right?
But he's not throwing it as much as he was.
Exactly.
I think he's relying a little bit more on his sinker again, which I always said when he was struggling, just go back to 2 pitches, go back to the curveball sinker, and try to get early outs, try to get ground balls, trust your stuff, and that's why I said it's a mindset too, because once you start trusting your stuff, then you could add in whatever you want. If you're throwing your sinker and that's getting hit around and your curveball's hanging, where do you get your confidence from? You don't. And I think he's just gotten to a point now in the season where every time he goes out there, he has the confidence level that he's not going to give up many runs and he could get deeper into games. That's the bottom line.
So he goes 5 last night, 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, goes 97 pitches. Nice night out there in Iowa. I mean, they said at game time it was like breezy and 70. 97 pitches, 5 innings. The Phillies, I don't know what the score was at the time that he left. Maybe it was 5-1 or whatever it was. I forgot to look that up. I was kind of a little surprised with the bullpen being what it is that Mattingly pulled him after 5. 97 pitches. Did you have any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, there's a day off today. That's why he did it. I think if there was no day off today and they had another game immediately, I don't think he would have done that. I think he would have probably held off 1 more inning to try to get Nola through 6, especially with a lead that he had. So, I mean, in my eyes, it's just one of those things where, okay, things look pretty good. I could go to my bullpen. They'll have a day off tomorrow, and I don't have to worry about it. So I think that was probably more in the eyes of what was in front of them instead of what was going on in the game.
See, I looked at it a different way. I wasn't thinking of the rest so much. I was thinking of, I don't want to go to the bullpen because it has been that off lately. But Brooks Rowley comes in and gives him a good inning, and it was a perfect 4 innings out of the bullpen. You got Kerkering, you got Bolin. Bolin's been terrific.
Yep.
Did you see this coming from him, Ricky? Jonathan Bolin?
I've said that's a guy that should be the right-handed setup guy. Okay. I think it literally should be Raley and Bolin. Bolin throws hard. The one thing about Bolin, he's not afraid to be in situations.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you see from other guys. Orion Kerkering, great in the 5th, 6th inning. You get him in the 7th, 8th, all of a sudden he can't throw strikes. And he overuses that sweeper. I know you throw a good sweeper and you keep throwing them. You know as well as I do, the more breaking pitches you throw, the more susceptible you are to leaving one over the middle of the plate. And I think he gets himself into a little bit of trouble with that. I think he's got a really good fastball that he's having trouble spotting. So that's the other side of it. But in my eyes, you got to look to somebody and really kind of get into their mindset and see if they could handle the 7th or 8th innings. Because let's face it, all these guys have arms. But, I mean, being able to go into a game in high leverage situations, that's what the problem is. And I think Jonathan Boland's one of those guys that's just going to take the ball. And he doesn't think about what the situation is. He's just going to go in there and pitch. I think did I see this coming at the beginning of the season? No. I would say about 40, 50 games in, I did. He's the guy that you need at the back end of the bullpen right now.
So you would go 6, 7. You would go 7, 8. You would go Brooks Raley and then Boland and then leading up to Duran.
Yeah, I mean, why the hell would you even go out and get Raley if you're not going to use him in the deep part of the game? Right. I think it was last week, he brought him in the 6th inning. I'm like, why? What are you doing here? You just pick up a guy who has a low 2 ERA, and he's really good against lefties, and you're going to bring him in the 6th inning. Nonsense. That's what I say, nonsense.
Has that been a little bit of I'm not going to call red flag, but a little bit of maybe a side tilt of the head with Don Mattingly as how he's handled the bullpen? Or do you think – oh, no, let's put it this way. Or do you think it's because of what he's been dealt with, what he has in that bullpen? You only have one sure thing. Maybe Boland is also. But your real sure thing is obviously Johan Duran.
Well, the cards in your deck aren't very good. I mean, when you really think about it. So, I mean, blaming Mattingly is one thing, but you don't even know if that's coming directly from him. You don't know how much input Caleb Cotham has. You don't know how much input the analytics has.
Right.
And you don't know, like, I don't even know. When I watch them, I don't know who's could go and who can't. It's like every night it seems like, I mean, come on. How many times have you ever heard in a game that your backup catcher, if you go to extra innings, is going to be the pitcher?
I'm telling you, you were in my head the other night. And we're going to get, you guys are old school. You don't know, what you're talking. Are you kidding me that 2 games in a row against the St. Louis Cardinals, you had to go after your starters went, you had to go to a guy that you just called up from AAA, not once, but 2 nights in a row? Yep. Like, were guys not – I understand the bullpen's been used a lot, but you'll say you would throw every day until your arm fell off, and it almost damn near did. But, really, 2 days in a row you had to go to – now, Alan Ronhell thankfully got you through 8 outs, although he gave up like 3 or 4 runs, whatever. But then the next night you had to go to Alex McFarland too? Like, what is up with this?
It shouldn't happen. I mean, Bob, you know as well as they're carrying 3 more relievers than we used to have. How did we make it through? Like, I sit there and say, how the heck did we get through it? But we did. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
No, I'm baffled as to how you only have 1 reliever or 2 relievers that could actually throw in a game nowadays. It is mind-boggling.
Like, I almost got the feeling in those St. Louis games that Don Mattingly was saying, you know what, guys? Sit down. I don't trust you. Sit down. I'm going to bring up Alex McFarland. I'm going to put in Alan Ronhell, and they're going to give me innings because I don't trust you right now. And come hell or high water, we're going to see what happens with that. And as I said, Ronhell wasn't good, but at least he got him the 8 outs that he got him without losing a lead. The next night he puts in McFarland in a 1-0 game. He gives up another run in what turns out to be a 2-0 loss. But you can blame that game on the offense for not getting any runs. I was just like, I really did. I felt like it was like if a Kirkring or an Alvarado started to stand up, they were going to say, no, sit down. We're going to let the young kids try to get through this because if I'm speaking like I'm Don Mattingly, I have to find an arm that I can trust.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is just very strange that they had minimalistic people that they could use. I don't know how that come around hell or high water. Did you see that?
Just
to me, it's like I would like literally stand up and said, I'll take the ball tonight. I mean, maybe guys just aren't like that. They're looking at their contracts a lot. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds weird, but I mean, they're always trying to get everybody paid down the line. That's like what the bottom line is in baseball nowadays. So I just think they give them enough rest as they possibly can get now. And if that means basically giving up on a game, that's what they're going to do. And I don't think it's right, but I mean, that's just the way the game is played. It's almost like we have to accept that.
Yeah, and I gotta say, if I'm a relief pitcher and things aren't going well, and for a lot of the relief pitchers in the Phillies, they haven't gone well. Well, they're pitching me only every other day, or every third day, and then I would change up, say, you know what? Let me try this with my arm a little tired. Maybe I'm better if I go like the next day after I went. Maybe I'm better with a little bit of an arm that seems a little tired. I don't know. You know better than I.
Yeah, you got it. Well, sometimes you got to use your movement. I mean, your arm gets tired. You usually have better movement on the ball, which means, you could hit spots a little bit differently and stuff like that. But I don't know how many of these guys are actually used to this. Let's face it, in the minor leagues, they're not going 2 days in a row. And if they do, that's usually something different. They're usually, one game on, 2 games off, 1 game on. I mean, it's really just kind of keeping people healthy. That's what they do. And that's something we have to live with. I'm not happy about it. You're not happy about it. The fan base isn't happy about it, but that's just the way baseball evolved. That's what it is now. And I just think it's weird because you don't hear this problem from other teams. Like I haven't heard that any other teams didn't have 3 relievers or 4 relievers that couldn't pitch that night.
Is it because we're not that keen? Like Greg Murphy and I were having this conversation the other day. I was talking about how frustrating the Phillies baseball IQ is sometimes. And he had a great answer. He says, I understand that. He said, but I watch every team. He said, I bet you if you concentrated on any other team for a week or so, you'd be frustrated with their baseball IQ too, because that's the way people play baseball now. Is that are we just a victim of our circumstances right now?
Yeah, probably. I think it's we're so focused on one thing and we see every game when you're not watching every team all the time. But I mean, I will say this much. You watch the Brewers, you're not going to think that way. Yeah. That team plays really good defense. They're smart base runners. I don't know. It's like every time they have even an opportunity to take off for another base, they try it, regardless of the situation. Right. And like when I used to play, they would be like, think about the situation. Think about the situation. Like, you know what kills me? You'll enjoy this. And I just saw it. It was in St. Louis, I think. St. Louis, the Cardinals bring in a left-handed reliever to pitch to 2 lefties. 6 straight balls he throws.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What the hell are you doing? They had a 4-run lead. What are you doing? Yeah. And to me, it's like they get a 2-0 count. They throw a slider that's 2 feet outside. What good is that doing?
Yeah.
And I guess that's just the way – that is analytics. That's analytics telling you stick to your guns. Don't ever give in to a hitter. Sometimes you got a lead. You just go with a fastball and see what happens.
Yeah, and we talk about the Phillies' aggressiveness on the base paths, and I used to have this argument with a guy that you and I used to work with, who is no longer in this city at the radio station. But he used to say the Phillies dumb base running, dumb base running, dumb base running, and I said, look, I don't think there's a whole bunch of dumb people surrounding the Phillies, players, managers, coaches, that are saying, yeah, don't worry about it. You get thrown out on the base paths. No, there must be some numbers that tell you, let's be aggressive. We're going to fail X amount of times, but we're also going to succeed X amount of times. So that way, yeah, let's keep being aggressive. Because when Bryce Harper gets thrown out at second trying to stretch a single into a double, yeah, you'll talk about it on the radio the next day. But when he hits one that should only be a single and it turns into a double, it's not talked about it all that much. My point is, I just think the analytics part probably comes into play in some of the bad things we see, but we don't notice the good things as much.
Well, because it's easy in our jobs to notice the bad things. It's just easier. It is. Let's face it, they stick out a lot more. Oh, and usually the bad things have a bearing on the game. That's the problem. The good things, you could see a guy take an extra base here and there. I mean, we see it a lot. They take the extra bases, but I mean, when you get thrown out, it's not a good play. It never is a good play. It never has been a good play. But I mean, it's because the game has changed, and it always tells you to take that extra base, take the chance, because X, Y, and Z has to go right to get you out. It's got to be a perfect throw, a perfect tag. You have to be you have to not be at the bag. And I don't know. It's just one of those things where we just have to deal with it. And we have to adapt. I mean, as media members, we have to adapt. And if you're not adapting to the situation, then you're not doing due diligence. That's my opinion.
Well, Ricky, as you know, winners win. Wapner Newman, they've been winning for families throughout Philadelphia and New Jersey since 1978. If you need a winner, call Wapner Newman at 215-569-0900 or visit wapnernewman.com. Okay, it's funny how the pitching's going now. Nola looks like he's almost back, like a 2.91 ERA, I want to say, in his last 4 outings or something like that. Really love what he's doing as my son gets ice out of the ice machine. Really love what he's looked like lately, but so has Andrew Painter looked good. Yeah. And, you know, this is weird, Ricky, and I brought this up earlier this week to Greg Murphy. We're sitting in the dugout one day, and somebody asked the question. This is about 3 weeks ago. Somebody said, hey, what about Andrew Painter? How's he doing in the minors, and what's your guys' thought on him? And Don Mattingly says right away, our thing wasn't to put Paint down there and watch him and say, okay, is he ready? Let's bring him back. No, that's not what this is about. He just needs to get righted. And it made me with the feeling like, okay, he's done with the Phillies for the year. They're going to move on. The next week, out of nowhere, here come the tweets. Aaron Nola's in Baltimore. Looks like he's going to start. Not Aaron Nola, Andrew Painter. Looks like he's going to start tonight. And it's like, what? And he's been really good since. Why? What change do you think, Ricky?
Well, I think first and foremost, he throws his fastball in better places. His location is a lot better with his fastball. He didn't have a problem with his breaking pitches. I think his biggest problem comes with his location. If he's starting to throw this is a guy that was throwing 100 miles an hour. Now he's 96, I would say, somewhere in that vicinity. And when you do that, you can't just throw it down the middle. You have to be able to hit your spots on both sides of the plate. And you'll see him even now in games, the last couple of games, he'll get into these weird situations where he's not throwing the ball where he wants it, but it's about readjusting in the game. And he's been able to do that against the Orioles and against the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Was it the Cardinals?
Yep.
Yeah. He had no hitter through 5. I mean, that to me is being able to adjust, being able to get some confidence. Let's face it. Do you think he had any confidence when he was up here before getting belted around the ballpark?
Oh, no.
He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. And so I think
how easy is it? Okay, so he can't spot his fastball. Okay, can't spot his fastball up here. He's 1-8. Send him to the minors. Is there a minor league coach that looks and says, you know what? It's just try your release point here, or try this. Like, how minuscule can that change be, Ricky, for a guy like that, a guy like you when you were pitching, that it changes what you were doing?
I saw it in his mechanics. I mean, and anybody that's watching could see he's falling into the first base dugout every time he threw a fastball. How could you throw a ball where you want it if you're not even going in the right direction?
Right.
I mean, if you're going everything towards your left, you're usually going to pull the ball with you. But I mean, when I really kind of look at him, I think it was just all about mechanics. And you know how simplistic pitching could be sometimes is a straight line. If you get everything in a straight line, your location's going to be a lot better one way or the other. If you're going in a straight line, you're going to be around that area where you want to throw the ball. You start spinning off of pitches, and that may have come down to one thing, because when guys try to throw harder, what do? They spin their torso because they want to produce more torque. And when you start doing that, there goes your mechanics. And I think that's where Andrew Painter was, trying to bring in more torque to get his fastball going a little bit faster. But that didn't work for him. As a matter of fact, I think it just hindered him for 2 months. Go down to the minor leagues. It's a minor tweak. They quote unquote send him in the lab. You know, they show him a lot of video. They show like his mechanics, the whole biomechanics thing of pitching, and show him what he should be doing and how to get there. And then once you get there, you're fine. But I mean, it's all muscle memory. When you start twisting your hips and pulling, your muscles are going to continue to do that every single pitch. That's just the beast. And the other thing is he got rid of his splitter, which I think is a good thing.
I was surprised when he came up and they said, yeah, that's gone. We're just getting rid. And I think we were with Painter when he said it also. But adjusting to that torque and all, is it as simple as look where your front foot is landing? You're landing maybe a little bit off to your left as opposed to straight ahead towards the plate, or is it that torque more than where your foot's landing?
Well, it's actually you're always going to torque once you land and after you push and land. But the one thing you can't do is send your front hip off before you go towards home plate.
Like you're
Because
swinging yourself open, like a golf swing.
The back of your shoulder, your front hip, and your chin will send you where you want to go. If you are sending your hip towards the first base dugout, your body's going that way.
Okay.
And to me, it was just a mechanical issue of getting him back online. If you could get back online, I mean, you start throwing the ball a lot better. I mean, you watch him because he'll do it every once in a while. He'll still push towards the first base dugout. But if it's later, it's fine. If it's when he's in the middle of his windup, that's where he gets into trouble and he'll pull the baseball with him. It's just mechanical tweaks, if you ask me. He's got the arm. He's got good breaking stuff. So the problem to me was just location.
All right, there's a little, I don't know where your concern might be. I don't think a lot of people are really concerned on it, but we have to look at the last 5 outings of Zach Wheeler. All right, and there was a rain delay thing in there, and there was also a 3-inning game, which he gave up 5 runs. But 24 innings pitched, 15 earned runs over his last 5 outings. That's a 5.63 ERA. Some walks in there at times, which is not Zach Wheeler at all. Look, he's had a phenomenal season. And I said it, a lot of us said it, a couple of weeks ago, like you can't expect Luzardo and Sanchez and Wheeler to keep this up throughout the whole season. There's going to be some times. It looks like Sanchez just went through a little bit of a time, but he's coming out of it. Is that what Wheeler's going through now, do you think, Ricky?
I'm hoping so. I mean, look, he had a pretty major surgery in the offseason.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. He missed a month and a half of last season. I don't know. This could just be a little tired spell that he's going through, which that's what I'm hoping. Because the one thing that you'll notice is fastball is a little flatter than it normally is. And usually he's got really good life going in towards home plate. I just, that to me tells me he's a little tired.
Okay.
And that could stop very quickly. That you've seen it. You've seen guys with dead arms come in there and you're still throwing, 96, 97, but it's not finishing. It's kind of just flat going into home plate. And then you could go out two appearances later and everything's fine. It's a weird phenomena that happens.
Do you feel dead arm? Because we've all heard dead arm, and I know somebody's explained it through the years, but I think there's different explanations from different people all the time. Is it more just noticeable because of your velocity, your location, whatever it may be, or do you really feel it in your arm? Like, does your arm really feel that deadness?
Your arm feels heavy is what happens. Okay. And I mean, a lot of players don't like to admit it, but I used to get it in spring training after I would pitch probably 5 times, and then I'd have two appearances in the middle that nothing was coming out. Like I'm throwing the ball, but nothing's coming out, it felt like.
Right.
And I could remember them saying, well, your velocity is the same. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not finishing. It's not something, there's no jump on the ball because when you pitch, you could actually see the ball jump when you're throwing it.
Tell us what you mean by jump.
Like it finishes. It's got like an extra kick towards home plate.
Okay. It's like you're throwing it
instead of coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of coming in just kind of flat and it never changes plane, you got like depth to it is what happens. And when you lose that, it's easy for a hitter to pick up and it's easy for them to kind of time it because it's on the same level coming in. It's not a downward plane. You get the downward plane, as you know, ball's coming in. You're only seeing the top half of it. Right. If you're throwing it flat, you're seeing it come directly at you.
Yeah. So. It's funny. Like when I was young, I did some boxing and stuff like that. And they would always tell you, if you're going to hit somebody at 6 inches, don't throw a 6-inch punch, throw a 12-inch punch, meaning throw through the 6 inches. You want to act like your target's back here. When you're going well, is it like you're throwing 65-foot fastball as opposed to 60 feet, 6 inches?
Yeah, and when you're not, it's like you're throwing like barely just to the glove. Yeah, I mean that is the way it feels. And I teach when I teach kids, I teach them to throw through the glove, not to the glove. And it's weird. They'll be like, I'll say, where you throwing it? To the glove? No, you're throwing it through it. You want that glove to pop because if you're throwing through, you're going to finish. If you're not, you kind of almost get a loop on the baseball. So I always teach throw through the glove all the time. That's why your mind is a weird thing. I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, but certain stadiums, made you feel like you were throwing further away because of the depth behind home plate.
Yo, that's a real thing. That's absolutely a real thing. Depth perception.
And it actually works on your muscle memory. Like, it's like, this is farther than I normally throw. I got to throw it harder. And usually the ball doesn't come out better that way. It usually comes out worse.
I mean, it's funny. Before we went on the air today, we were talking about favorite places to play. And I brought up to you that I played junior college ball at Jadwin Gym up in Princeton. Our coach had us go out more than a half hour than we would normally go out for warm-ups because the depth perception was so weird, because you had baskets just in the middle of nowhere. There was no bleachers behind it, and there was no walls. It kind of just went. So it was like shooting a basketball in the ocean almost. Like, what am I doing? So it's the same thing there as pitching, I would guess, right? If it's intimate, you know you're throwing it hard, but if it's bigger, it doesn't feel it.
Yeah, I could tell you right now, the vet had that big green wall behind home plate.
Yeah.
It felt like the catcher was right next to you.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there were certain – I used to love Wrigley. I know a lot of people liked Dodger Stadium. I used to feel like it was a long way.
Oh, okay.
So, it's just different feels, different stadiums. Yankee Stadium was really nice. Fenway was rough. I couldn't figure that one out.
No.
I felt like the wall was right here, the left field wall. And then I felt like home plate was like a mile away. So, I mean, there's certain stadiums that did that to you.
Yeah, people think, robotic athletes go out there and play. There's no circumstances. You go pitch, you go hit, you go shoot, you go score. Like, people don't realize that these things all come into play even for major league and, professional athletes. Like, those circumstances come into play. You know
what was a weird place to pitch was Three Rivers.
Oh, I remember that place. I was never there.
Because they used to push the batter's box back 4 inches. Did you know that?
No, why?
I don't know.
What do you mean? That the line would be back 4 more inches?
Yeah, we never knew it. I'm pretty sure somebody told me that once, because I used to get hit around there and I couldn't figure it out. Somebody's like, I think the batter's box is bigger. I'm like, what? I never believed it, but that's what I was told. It's like one of those quote unquote things that people will say, but I never thought it, but people would say it.
They had some big boys back in the day. Willie Stargell, Dave Parker. Maybe they needed to make it a little bit bigger just to.
Yeah, but think about that.
So they could stay back on the ball, right?
That's crazy, though. I mean, it's a theory that people have made up, and I never believed it because I'm like, nah, I don't think that's it. I think I'm just leaving pitches over the plate.
Nah, it had to be something else. It wasn't your fault, Ricky.
Oh, I take blame. You know me. I took blame.
That's right. That's right. Hey, have you found yourself on the injured list? Well, if you have, get help now. Call Wapner Newman, Pennsylvania, New Jersey's premier medical malpractice and injury attorneys. You can reach them at 215-569-0900 or visit wapnernewman.com. All right, Ricky, we're going to let you go in a minute, but I want to dip into some other sports real quick. Just a couple of questions here. Eagles are in training camp, as you very well know. You follow football real closely. You were brought up a fan of a different team, not the Philadelphia Eagles. And no, it's not I never look at fandom as anything, but that's fine. You are who you are. Like, why do we make rules about fandom? Oh no, you live in Philly now. You need to root for who you root for. Who cares? Joe Wechter getting on my case here. But Eagles. Let's take out Jalen Hurts. Who's the most important? And it can be anybody in the organization, Ricky. For this 2026 season, who's the most important Eagle besides Jalen Hurts in your mind?
Honest opinion, it's more than one person. It's the offensive line.
You're the second person that gave me that exact answer to the exact question.
Well, I mean, in my eyes, when the Eagles are good, and you can go back to the Super Bowl years, what was the main thing that was good? It was the trenches on the offensive line. Yep. And I could go back to Saquon Barkley getting into the second level how many times without being touched.
Oh, yeah.
And I could picture guys pancaking a linebacker. And that's what you need. You need these guys to be healthy, number one, and you need the offensive line to be strong. I think you give Jalen Hurts any kind of time and Saquon any kind of room, you're going to have a lot of yardage.
All right, so I was in the office of the Philadelphia Daily News one time, right? And it was a Sunday afternoon in September. And Paul Hagan, one of the greatest baseball writers that's ever come around, who I'm sure you're familiar with, Paul Hagen's about to leave our office. It's early on a Sunday morning, and somebody goes up to him and says, man, and it was a year the Phillies were good. And he says, man, you got the luckiest job in the world going out to a baseball stadium on a beautiful Sunday in September. And Hagen looks at him and says, yeah, where were you the last 10 years when I was going there and the Phillies were already, weren't doing well and everybody else is home watching the Eagles or going to Eagles games? What's it like playing on a bad team on a Sunday when the NFL is going on in September and you're just playing out the schedule and there's like nobody around? Is that the worst feeling in the world?
Hell. It's hell. It is. You're not going anywhere, and you're watching the game, and you're like, you know what, we suck. Like, you're seriously sitting in the bullpen and being like, well, my job was a little easier. I knew that if we were getting our butts handed to them, I probably wasn't in that game unless I hadn't pitched in a while. But it was rough. I'm not going to lie. It was rough. I mean, it was one of those things where you're like, there's a million places I could be, but you still had to pitch for – see, back then you were pitching for your life. I mean, you were pitching for your career every single time you were out there because unlike now, I mean, if you had a 4.5 ERA in the bullpen, you're gone. You're gone. That's just the way it happened. And, you had to be very careful about your job. So, I mean, you had to – that's the thing. It felt more like a job in September when you were out of it than a baseball game.
Yeah.
And we play the sport for fun. It wasn't exactly fun in September.
I always felt so bad. And there were some times where they would say to me, hey, you got to go down and cover the Phillies today because we have everybody else on the Eagles. And I would just look at players on a 60 and 100 team and be like, how do you do this? How do you sit there through this in September when everybody else's attention in the city is towards football?
I think I nailed it. Hell.
Yeah, hell. All right, that's a good way of putting it. All right, last thing I'm going to leave you with. I was a guest on a local radio station yesterday, which you might be familiar with, yesterday morning, and they asked me a question before I got out that I had to answer, and they said they're asking everybody this, and their question was this: are the Phillies going to make the playoffs this year? My answer was no, I don't think they're going to. I think there's too many holes, and they plug holes here, but then other holes open there. I hope they do. It'd be great for the city. I want them to. I just think there's so many holes that this team is trying to constantly plug that I don't know if it can hold out. What's your answer to that question? Do they make the playoffs this year?
I think they do, but I think it's lack of competition. I mean, come on. The Padres, the Diamondbacks, okay. Do you really think the Cardinals are that good? I mean, it's just like, who could erase them is the way I look at it.
Right.
Like, who's going to completely erase them? I think they're going to be in it right down to the end. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think because of the names in the lineup, I think somehow, some way they go on a winning streak. Here's the biggest problem. They ran out of rope. I mean, in all honesty, you have one of these droughts like they had before, like right after the All-Star break or a 10-game lose, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no more rope for this team, but I do think they get it.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, want to thank you for joining us. Ricky Bottalico, simply, like I texted you last night, you're the greatest.
You're the best.
Better. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to hit you up down the road to join us more talking about Phillies talk. I will say this, too, so people aren't disappointed in me. Although I said I don't think they'll make the playoffs. If they do, I describe them as one of the teams that nobody wants to face. Because if you're playing them in a series and you got Sanchez, Wheeler, and Luzardo coming at you, that ain't good. So see how it all plays out. Yeah. So, Ricky, we will see you down the road and talk to you forever. Joseph A. Wechter Jr., great job producing today. We appreciate that.
There it is.
There it is. And we will talk to you all soon. We'll be back at you on Tuesday with the podcast, but keep checking us out on OnPattison.com. We have Tim Kelly and Anthony SanFilippo with the Phillies in Minnesota right now. Any Sixers things that come up, Eagles, Flyers, we're on top of it all, so keep checking us out. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday.